Hello everybody, I'm here at Tidworth B1KEpark, which many of you know has been closed for basically a year now, bar the race we did back earlier in the year, back in spring. We're finally ready to open the doors to you all. It's pretty short notice. We've only just found out that we're really going to be able to get it done. We've been waiting on a couple of bits that have made it impossible to open before now, but the trails are ready and it looks like we're going to be ready to go for the end of this week, ready for opening this weekend, which is the last weekend in August, and the 1st of September. So I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of what we've been up to. I say quick, it's probably going to be quite long, but definitely worth watching through. Loads has changed here. We've gone from a 6-week build to a 6-month build. It's for those of you who love riding here, it's got everything that you love about it, and hopefully a lot more as well. For those of you who before didn't necessarily get on with it, I hope you've provided a lot of those things that will give you the buzz that you've been looking for when you get here. I'm really proud of what we've done. I think it's absolutely up to date. It's got a lot of worldwide bike park influence going on in here, and hopefully there'll be something for everybody to enjoy. It's still got that Tidworth charm. We aren't going to be able to change certain elements that may or may not put you off. It will always be a tough place to come and ride, but I think now it's got a lot of cherries on top of the cake to keep you wanting more and to keep coming back. So please watch this video, and when you come down, talk to the staff on site, find out what's different. The push-ups are different. A lot of the trails have changed. We've merged a lot of them. Lots of things have gone. I'm sure rumours been abound, and even not rumour, there'll be plenty to know. And yet things have gone. Lots of things have gone. Some of the more iconic features traditionally from here have gone, but I think we've replaced them with things that are far better, far more up to date, and allow much more riding. And ultimately that's the whole point of here, is to get in as much riding as possible. So yeah, please watch, come down, enjoy. Apologies to everybody that I'm going to miss in this and things that I'm going to have missed out, but we're flat out. To give you an idea, today is Wednesday and we're looking to open on Saturday, so I just wanted to get out some information for you before you go. One thing I would like to do is shout out to everybody who's been patient and waited, not so much to those of you who haven't, but that is few and far between, thankfully, and also to everyone who's helped out, particularly Ollie Rastel and Ed Steeden of Trafalgar Marquees, who provided us with carpet for free, because we want this place to be running as often as possible, and for the the jumpy lines to be running as well. So we are carpeting every lip and landing and going to give that a go, see how that works out, and that is a lot of carpet, I can tell you, and we couldn't have done it without those guys. Firstly to Ollie, who is a rider and a builder himself, for reaching out to me, and for Ed for providing it for us, and yeah, come down and enjoy it and see what we've done. So yeah, please guys, enjoy. Any questions, just come down and ask us. Thanks very much. See you here. So once you've come up from the push-up all the way round to the start ramp, this is now where all of the trails lead off from. So yeah, your first time up the hill, this is where you're going to end up to. And we got Riverflow peeling off to our first left, then Oblivion, which leads into the 3 separate options at the bottom currently, and then straight ahead for White Line, which is just off to the left where it always was before, and into Hooper and Wasby. So off from the start ramp down towards where Sick Note used to be, and is no longer, is where we now take you to get to both Hooper and Wasby, both of which have had changes. Hooper alongside Oblivion and White Line probably had the biggest changes on the hill. But so we're going to come through this section towards where we went for the race, the last race, which turned off down to our left, and now it doesn't. It goes through this whole new fresh section for both Hooper and Wasby. Wasby's now graded as a blue, and I mean it's a Tidworth blue, so you're going to expect some roots and some interesting cambers and some surface situations, shall we say, but it is a super fun flowy trail. Nothing too hectic inside it. They're both going to come down through this section here. Lots of line choices available. Should be really good fun.
and then they split right here. Hooperstruve now goes off to our left through here, and Wasby off to the right. So I'm just going to run us through Wasby very quickly through this top section. So it's all fresh cut, really wide. It's going to rough up as the tyres get down it, but you should be able to get down it at any speed really. And although this section here in particular looks pretty rough, pretty gnarly, actually there's some smoother options, some wider options, and even if you end up going down the Hooperstruve option by accident, and get towards where you can see the rock garden just ahead of us here, and feeling like maybe this isn't for me, we can still bail out and draw ourselves across through this section, through this nice little avenue, through these trees, and then out into where Wasby used to come in from our right hand side, from Riders right through here, and then it's down as normal. And I'll show you some more of the little changes towards the bottom of that one. So towards the bottom of Wasby, all of the turns above us are the same as they were before. We've been through them, tidied them all up, but the bottom here, where it used to turn right through this little narrow passageway through here, we've kept it really wide. Again, lots of options for you to mix it up a little bit, and then we're dropping down into where Hooper used to run to. Now that's a different story, and we will come to that. I'm sure it will raise some controversy, but there it is, we'll get to that later. So for the time being, we'll stick with where we are at Wasby, and again following that same old line. Again, we just tidied it up a bit, widened it up a little bit, just pushed a couple of turns in or out where they needed to. But at the bottom here is where it really develops into something a little bit different. So we're going to have two options for you here. Wasby being the blue, as I've said before. We'll continue on the right hand side here. So we've got these rollers which are doubleable, and following on down into a tabletop line. But then also we've got this left hand side which we've named Hornet, which is a modernised version of what was here previously. It's been run as an alternative end to Hooperstruve for the last couple of years. We've got this first big step down on our left hand side, and then the pretty long on off as well. So we'll just look at both of those options as we wander down it. So there's our step down. It is rollable if you're going slowly, but otherwise you really do want to make the full distance. And then yeah, on the right hand side here, so we've missed what was known as the swimming pool, this funny little area here, dug in a couple of berms to come through on the right hand side to come down on Wasby. Again, you can see there just the distance on that on off is pretty great, but it does work super good. Little techie off on there as well. They run parallel so nicely too. It's really nice if you're just riding with your mates and one of you is more confident than the other maybe. There's those tabletops at the end of Wasby. Nothing too big, but nice and playful, and as they bed in they should run really nice and fast. You can cruise this all the way back to the cabin as it stands, and it's only going to get better. And here you can see the end double on Hornet as well. Get the right angle on it, it looks pretty dramatic with that big old root ball in the background too. And riding it side by side is really good fun. And you'll see from GoPro footage that you can actually see both runs at once. So there we go, and they both reconvene together at these three rollers here. And this track takes you all the way back to the cabin. It rolls through, even currently in not the best conditions, you can roll through no pedals, and once it's settled in a little bit, you'll find that you get back to the cabin in absolutely no time, straight back to the push-up, away you go. So more big changes over at the Humps and Bumps area. The original push-up comes up from the cabin through here, now stops at this point. There is no further push-up from here. We've got trail crisscrossing it everywhere. So the only push-up is now via the old 4x4 track, and the race push-up that we've used several times now. I'm just going to walk you through what we've done here at Humps and Bumps. But huge changes, to be honest. You can see George down there just carpeting up the left hand side, the double line, which is now going to be known as peaks and troughs, and then the right hand side through the table line for Humps and Bumps. I'll just show you what we've got going on down here They both start from that same platform that they're used to, and then rolling down here, as I say, the peaks and trough line, all doubles, 100% commitment from the word go. We're carpeting up every lip throughout the park and see how that works out. And this right hand side is now much more fluid. Should be a really fun session point for the end of the day, or a little warm up point. Great for those with hardtails, even with your dirt jump bike if you happen to have one with you. Equally, as they mature and settle in, should be really rideable on bigger bikes too. You can see these doubles, first few pretty much where they were before. We just refreshed them. We've definitely built some bigger ones as we go down, and these tabletops just a little bit taller, a little bit lippier than perhaps some of the others around the park, but following the old route around this whole bottom area. And then after these two tabletops here, you get a couple of trail merges. Again, it's designed to allow as much visibility as possible from every angle, and also to slow you down a little bit too. We've actually got Hooper Struve coming in from our left here, and White Line coming in from the right into this turn on the outside, and through the last rollers into a little stepped up tabletop that will then take you back to the cabin, and you can just push back up the flat section behind my car there, and then all the way back up to the top and go again. Now the peaks and troughs line, pretty straightforward in terms of direction, just one straight line. Going over those first three doubles in Little Racer, well, not so Little Racer, and into this last double. Nice big landing on it, plenty of room to mess about with, and then into a 180 berm, which will then get you back onto the push up and straight back up, and away you go again. So possibly the biggest changes all the way down have been to Oblivion. It's a pretty heritage trail anyway. It's seen some changes in its time, in my time too, and we really wanted to bring it back to something that was just a super fun party lap bike park track. Bits of downhill in there, bits of just bike park, classic bike park. Throw some features in, just keep it super fun and flowy and playful, and with options everywhere as well. So I'm going to kind of run you through it now, give you an idea of what's there and what's to come. We've replaced the first table with a couple of little rollable doubles, or a rollable double should I say, doubleable rollers. And then into the first turns, as they always were, just refresh them a little bit. The surface is so playful right now as well. It's grip, but just shifts a little bit about underneath you. It's quite slashy. So out of this turn, and then we change things up immediately from here. So rather than going all the way around to the right where it used to go, taking you off this little ski booter now into this tunnel through the beaches, really fast. Makes you feel like a hero. Looks really interesting as well, kind of gives you that tunnel effect. Again, avoiding the old drop section on the right hand side. I also appreciate that some people are going to be bummed that we've taken some of these features out. We really have tried to replace what like for like, or at least one for one. It's got this quite long but low berm again out through the tunnel, and you'll see ahead of us here two options. Now left hand side is going to be a little extra we'll add on as soon as we can, called Side Quest. If you look at the map you'll see it on there. It'll be a little red that actually joins you to the bottom of Riverflow. We're not going to get it done in time for opening, but shouldn't be long afterwards. Be a little natural jobby. So we're going to hit round to the right and then through into these routes that was always a bit awkward coming through from that old wooden step up job. Not that it's going to be simple now, but certainly a little bit more direct, and then through into the steps that you'll recognise from years gone by. Not taking out any of the options at this point. Definitely all there, but with a little bit more speed, a little bit more flow. And then down into the woods again. Where we changed direction pretty severely again, to be honest. Used to go off left towards the old drop that lots of people knew and loved and worked on, and yes, it has gone, but it is for the better for the options we've got in front of us. Okay, so we've got these two low, fairly slow berms, and that is with good reason, not least to control you a little bit for what's coming up, but also because Berminator, which now comes off of White Line, actually joins into us here as well. So we need a little bit of speed control just to make sure that merge is safe and controlled. And from here we initially have two options. The left hand side, which for those of you who were at the race earlier on in the year will recognise as the line that took you through to the bottom of Oblivion jumps, and it does to a degree, and I shall show you through there shortly. But then off here into what was Oblivion, we've replaced the drop that we took out over there, what was Berminator, apologies, and stuck this new drop step down in here instead. I think it looks a little bit more impressive as a structure, but actually allows you a lot more option as well. Of course there is the runaround as well for those of you who aren't necessarily so confident with these sorts of things, that you can, and over time I'm sure we'll be able to send it even deeper into these awesome old Berminator turns, which are absolutely rad, make you feel like a legend. This whole track kind of makes you feel like a bit of a hero, as I said before, so really hope everyone's going to enjoy it. It's definitely been the crew's favourite so far. Really hard to get to the bottom and not be enjoying it. So we come off from where the Berminator turns, just used to drop down to there. It's a slightly tight turn. We come out a bit earlier and through into this section here, which utilises the old Berminator jumps on the right hand side. That is now known as Berminator 2, and that's for the smaller tabletops. Also super fun, really directional. It's cool, really wicked. And then left through the what is the centre now, which actually drops you into the old Oblivion tabletops, and this will remain Oblivion bottom. So looking at the map, this is what we're looking at here, is Oblivion bottom. And these tabletops are now unchanged, but where previously we used to have the step down that was right in front of us here, this tabletop was a little bit on the small side. It's now pretty much perfect. It's got a really nice shape to it and it feels really awesome. So just coming out that little bit slower, putting a bit of a turn in, makes it so much more fun. And then, well, we can see we've got a much bigger side than we've ever had on this line before, and this is coming off of that wood section that we used for the race, now known as Peaky Blind Hits, courtesy of Rogate George named that. So we're going to come out of the woods as we did through the old Oblivion berm. There's that last minute pull out, but you will be carrying an awful lot more speed, so just be aware that that tabletop will be similar to how it was before. And into this blind step down, not insignificant size, but super good fun. And through this corridor, so we've got pretty chunky little double ahead of us here. So this is a black line, all doubles, all unavoidable, 100%. If you find yourself on them, pretty much committed to it. So we've got another little gap over a ditch here, and you're not going to be riding through that in a hurry. And then through this little alley we've got Riverflow coming out just on our left hand side here. Another little double, probably slightly more rollable than the others. Definitely don't want to be riding around into the nettles and the brambles there. And it's these last couple of turns. This is an old trail. This is, I believe, what was originally the end of Oblivion, or what became Oblivion. So we just refreshed it and given it a little bit more oomph. And then final little double just as we come to the end here. So another big change will be on Riverflow, towards the bottom section of it, the last section of the steep bit. We came around here and there used to be the larger sort of corner drop. We've taken that out and we've replaced it with a really pretty chunky rock garden, not dissimilar to the one higher up through the double, but certainly a little bit slower pace. Some really filthy bits, no direct straight line through it either. So yeah, definitely fits the bill a little bit more for what this black technical trail will do, and hopefully gives you something to think about all the way to the bottom. So the top half of White Line's largely unchanged, and we have done some work on the lips and the landings. There's still a little bit more to do, including putting the carpet down, but we've widened up a couple, like this one for instance, and then through the main straight, which everyone really enjoys sessioning, just lipped them up a little bit, and certainly the last one in the set, giving it a bit more oomph. So it should be really good fun, really floaty, nice little section, and then you can run through the berms afterwards into the step down, the last tabletop, and then peel off for the new session point push up. So as we're coming down White Line, we now have 2 rideable options available to us, and also a pull out. So straight ahead off of this lip, we'll continue with White Line into the much changed lower half. Left here, where we went for the last race, for those of you here for the Route 1 race back in May, I believe it was. This is now going to lead into the Berminator berms in the middle of the hill, which will then take us to some extra options further down, and run you through those shortly as well. And then immediately out to our left here is going to be our only session point on the hill right now. So you can session the whole of the top of White Line, get back to here, pull off, and this actually gets you back onto the old push-up that ran through the middle. It's now defunct, but back up this alley, and that'll take you straight back up to the start ramp. Then you can go again or run a full track to the bottom. Okay, so I guess to the first of the 2 big elephants in the room. We'll stick with White Line for now. So we have made significant changes to the lower half. After the Berminator split, which you can just see through here, that alleyway along there, which then drops through into the old Berminator, turns down that way as we did through the race earlier in the year. We stick with White Line as normal for a very short time through these big bike park berms, and then where previously around this right hander we would have come out into the open, gone down the 2 step downs, we never really felt right with them, if I'm honest, and we've been looking for a solution for a little while. And so what we've done is we've cut right into where Sick Note previously did come through, and it's got some really awesome little bits of root and chunder, and it's got that real European bike park feel to it. We're not in here for very long, and yes, we've lost 2 features through there, although one of them was turned into a roller recently. We think we've brought something new to the game that you're going to love. First of all, we got this disgusting route section through here to carry on through into White Line, which is going to be, you know, significant. And we've built this ladder step down really. As you can see, it's not rideable just yet, but come opening day I guarantee it will be. And it has a sizable gap on it, and absolutely no backside, so once you're in, you're in. The uprights will be gone, don't you worry, so you're not going to have to squeeze through. But yeah, we've got a reasonable step down into the bottom left hander, and I think everyone's going to love it. To be honest, I really feel pretty confident about how good that's going to be. One of the last things that we've got to test ride ourselves, so watch this space for a video on that one. But we'll then stick to that left-hand berm, and you can see above us where we previously came through, so we've added a little bit of length to the track as well, a little bit of complexity, a little bit of something interesting hopefully. And again, here's the main thing. So the step down into the 40 and the step up following have all gone, and you know people are going to be bummed about it, but the reality is that it's nothing to do with the size of them in terms of their danger to riders per se, so much as how difficult they were to keep running at a safe level. And you can see through this turn here just how green the ground gets in there. Very little sunlight gets into that whole area, and it lets algae grow on top of the features, and it becomes unrideable. And the sheer scale of those features meant that it was really hard work to keep on top of them and to keep them running fresh at the detriment of everything else. I also don't think particularly that they were overly good fun. They were obviously large, and plenty of people did enjoy them, but I think what we've done is introduce something a little bit more fun, that will get people stoked all the way to the bottom, be easier to look after, and does not take away from any of the gnar factor, particularly, especially with that ladder drop. So you're going to come down off that ladder drop, round that left hand turn, and we've got this first little step down into a berm. These are pretty technical, it's going to be difficult for people to get hold of. So we've replaced one feature for one feature, and we've got another step down straight out of the turn, slightly on the twist. Again, these are rollable, the back sides are soft enough to roll through. It's a pretty decent gap to make it to the downside off of there, and it looks really cool in here as well. It's got lots of cool vibes to it. Into this left-hander, and we've got another one, an even longer step down out of here, and I think that's gonna scratch the itch that maybe people have gonna develop from losing those other big features. We've got this great big right-hander. Again, you can see it's a reasonable step down out of there. We get some lovely photos from there. Gonna get some good GoPro footage, I'm sure. People looking really stylish, jumping out of turns. Not much more stylish than that, really. And then to finish off into this sort of moto rhythm section, we've got three quite peaky rollers to be ridden in any which way you like, really. Double on to pump, to then a slight step down off. Definitely not a roller, 100% don't want to be rolling off the back of that, but yeah, really cool little section. It just cruises you through towards the bottom, and where you then meet up with Hooper Struve on the right hand side, and Humps and Bumps coming in from the left hand side. So yeah, really stoked on it. Ride's so much fun. Hope you will be too. Okay, so as I said with Wasby, this is where Hooper Struve also peels off, so I'm just going to walk you down the very first section of that first of all, and show you some of the little changes we've made there. So again, quite wide, definitely lines to be had all over the place. It's going to be a really interesting racetrack, and we'll do a race preview for that very shortly. We're now entering the rock garden from a completely different angle. We've got this root bed in, and again, as I said for the Wasby little preview, there is a little escape route if needs be, but we're coming in further left than we used to for this rock garden, which actually opens up the width of it a lot more. There's a lot more options for riders, but also kind of allows this right hand side of the rock garden, which was neglected before, and when you came in from straight through here, really you didn't see much of it apart from this left hand side. And now there's definitely options available to us on that right hand side. Opens up loads more of the rock garden to be ridden, and I'll show you some of the lower changes in a second. Okay, so here we go, the last major shake up really, and again there's definitely going to be a few questions asked, I'm sure, but I hope you all understand why we made the changes and enjoy them too. So here we are on Hooper Struve. This is our classic racetrack for Tidworth, and I think this really measures up to it. So we've already gone through the rock garden at a slightly different angle, come around the next few turns and through this section here. So we drop around this left turn towards what is known as Mini Morzine, which would ordinarily have peeled off somewhere to the right. This is a big area that I always felt lacked definition, and the beauty with somewhere like Morzine, especially with the plenty off piece that I feel like this kind of identifies with, is a little bit of that ambiguity, but also that there is a vague direction and you can kind of pull with it. And this has been here for so long now that it was becoming a little bit one track and losing its freedom to a certain extent. And anyone who's been to Morzine, ridden the off-piste in and around Plenny, will know that they change all the time. This year, for instance, the popular off-piste very much seemed to be the complete opposite side of the hill to where they have been for the last few years. And so, you know, this will develop and change out. I think certainly as a racetrack goes, and we'll cover that a bit later on, for the race that's upcoming, this is going to give us a whole bunch of options and really make for a good raceable track. So we're coming through this section, we're keeping it full width. You can see between the nets here, there's lots and lots and lots of options, and some are going to be better for people than others. There will no doubt end up being a main line, but we want to keep those options open, and then come race day we're going to change things up as we see fit. So we're crossing these cambers, and this is very much in line with what you find in Morzine. Not necessarily all about the steeps, and much as we've lost the steep section, it was quite a short one that bombed us to the bottom of the hill very quickly. We've added a whole lot of length to this track by cutting across, using bits of old tracks such as Dirk Dunkel that came in from our left hand side here, and being able to really manipulate the terrain that we've got available to us. So yeah, we've got filthy root sections, cambers, little drop here if you so wish, still crossing this camber here. And again, we're keeping it absolutely wide open at this point, up high around these trees or down low into that classic Dirk Dunkel turn. And you see just below us there is where Wasby comes out now into where Hooper used to run, and that is where the hill got flat, and from that point onwards there was no elevation loss. You're not going to be going downhill anymore. So much as we have lost a chute section and a drop, yes, the coffin drop has also gone, we are continuing the track and we are moving downhill the whole time. So yeah, we've got these two options around here, both with their merits, both with their issues. Across this filthy off-camber root field again, and it's bone dry at the moment. This will be great, but we know what it gets like here when it gets a little bit wet sometimes, so that's definitely going to make for interesting riding. You look back across that hill, it's pretty cool. Through this section across, and this is where we leave Dirk Dunkel, what was used to drop off to our right. We now cut across even more camber, more roots that are going to come out as people ride it. This is virgin ground, this hasn't been touched previously. You can see all of these things starting to come through already, and actually into the end of Sick Note. So White Line just across from us there, and where we leave Sick Note on White Line to hit the ladder drop, we rejoin with Hooper, and it's just roots from there on out. Get a really nice view of the ladder drop through there. I hope that kind of shows up, and it's going to feel real cool, hopefully being this close to the other tracks that are going off at the same time, seeing people sort of nipping in and out of things. All of these routes, lines everywhere. It's definitely going to be critical. This is not going to be an easy track. It should be a really good race track, but if you want something that makes you feel like a legend and not having to do much, this is probably not the one for you. But if you want to try for something, if you're racing enduros regularly or even downhills, then this is going to be a good point to work on some of those lines. So although we've lost a couple of features, and hopefully we've not lost any technicality, and that will keep people happy, we do actually add a couple of features towards the bottom as well. Again, this is a black trail now, it's technical, these are unavoidable. Again, you can just see our friend Ginger George over there doing some final prep on them. So we've got relatively sizable step down here, Now the back side of this landing is rollable. You will be able to go around that takeoff, and especially through the race, and roll up and over it, but yeah, it is very much do or don't do in terms of actually hitting it, and it's not going to be easy to get your speed out there, I can tell you that much. So over this step down, this is where the 40 used to be. Around these turns, through this gully, and you know we're getting near the bottom. We're not quite there yet. Last little smash burn, again, to be critical to keep your speed around this. So we've got one more double, keep you guessing, towards the end here. Not huge, but I mean, as you can see, there's definitely been a few case marks already. Some of those definitely not legitimate, but nonetheless a couple of them certainly were. Again, come race day, we'll definitely be able to ride around that, but it's not a rollable option. And once we're over that, this is where we rejoin. We've got White Line coming in from our left, Humps and Bumps immediately in front of us here, and again we roll out all the way to the cabin. Job done.